giving spoilers. I mean, that's the character, and Madison and I
Yeah.
talked about it at length. I did that in Elm Street 3. There's a very strong image of Freddy Krueger with needle hands. And
Yes, I remember.
Karen, the victim in that case, also had an addiction problem. And I got letters after the film where people have gotten off of heroin and thanked me for a scary scene that got them off the needle. I mean, that's
Wow.
actually, and it made me realize, well, these films, while I see them as broad entertainment, yeah,
Chuck,
man,
Chuck, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
good, good, glad to be here.
I'm glad to talk to you. Where in the world are you?
Where's Waldo? I'm in Carlsbad and in sunny California.
Okay, interesting. Is that where you're from or living at or just filming maybe something?
I'm from Chicago originally.
Hey,
I,
that's me right now. This is my hometown.
you
That's
know,
where I'm at right now in Chicago.
where in Chicago are you?
I'm in the burbs, so I'm right by O'Hare, Des Plaines area.
Oh man, I caused so much trouble at O'Hare when I was in high school. I'm from Park Ridge. I'm from Park Ridge.
Oh my God, and neighbors literally Park Ridge
Uh,
is next door to Des Plaines. So I
I
went
got
to
in. We got in trouble in Des Plaines all the time. Those were the days.
I went to my high school was in Park Ridge, Maine East. So
Dude, we're rivals, Maine South.
okay, well there you go. Very familiar. We're both technically in Park Ridge. The both schools are there. So,
Cool.
uh, oh my God, I love that. A local. That is amazing.
Good to know. You know what? I came out to California specifically for the film business when I was a kid,
Yeah,
and uh, the Chicago work ethic, the kind of blue collar, don't fuck with me, I'm getting something done attitude.
yeah.
I was shocked when I got out to California where I was like, let's figure out how to make movies, people. And people were like, we're going to the beach. We'll see you later. And I've noticed people like Harold Ramis from Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
I used to see in Second City when I got a fake ID to get in Second City in Chicago when I was in high school. Um, I think that particular work ethic and there's a sense of working man humor in Chicago that I think is
Yes.
uniquely wonderful.
100%. And I can relate to that too. I came out, did some acting in LA too. I lived in LA for a while too. And it's a different edge. Everyone's going to the beach. I'm like, yo, I'm here with a purpose. I didn't come all the way to Chicago and leave all that behind to not do work and focus on what I'm here for, you know? So you're 100% spot on that.
Well, getting high and enjoying the sun. At least they were when I first came out.
It hasn't changed, Chuck. Well, love that you're a local. We got that symbiotic connection already here. Um, and listen, I've been a fan of your work for a long time, so it's cool to see you back at the drawing board. But why do people still keep on messing with Ouija boards, witch boards, all these sort of things? There's so much proof in a pudding that this
I'm
stuff is
trying.
not to be messed with. I don't know if you heard about that paranormal guy recently who died taking that Annabelle doll out. Like this stuff is legitimate.
Well, yes. Okay. So basically, I'm doing my best to warn people with this movie. This
Yes.
I'm not recommending the pendulum board. And in general, however, I find the actual as crazy as wild as Witchboard is.
Uh-huh.
I think regarding the witches and pendulum boards are historical facts. They've been around since ancient Egypt. They predated, they're a direct evolution of Ouija boards. There'd been too many Ouija boards. So originally I didn't really want to do a reinvention of Witchboard. Then I realized I've been trying to develop a pendulum board supernatural movie because they're amazing.
Hmm.
Then I realized, well, pendulum boards were outlawed by the French Pope in the 1700s, and women were being literally burned at the stake for having them. And
Hmm.
they were for conjuring and spell casting, and the church got into it. Therefore, most of our audiences don't even know about pendulum boards, but they've been around for hundreds of more years than Ouija boards. Ouija boards were developed after that specifically because pendulum boards could get you killed. So in
Wow.
the early 1800s and I think early 1900s, finally Ouija boards became popular. Pendulum boards may or may not have letters on them. It's mostly astrological signs, ancient symbols. But scientists have said the micro motion in your arm that you think you're holding it still, the scientific explanation of how pendulum boards work is your subconscious is working through your body to create the movements. On the other hand, mystics will tell you there is a spiritual world and that affects it. So somewhere between your subconscious and the spiritual world, the pendulum will start to move. And depending on the symbols on that board, You can interpret what your future may be, or you may be dumb enough to call up spirits. I don't recommend it.
Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, like, does it make you, are you superstitious in any sense? Like, did at any point sort of think like, I don't want to mess with this or say something, even on set? I was curious, like, how do you sort of navigate and approach that not to, do some potential damage? Because you're dealing with a subject matter that's very mystical and things have happened, like you mentioned. How do you sort of weigh that, or is that not even in your mind at all?
It is, and I'll tell you why. My good fortune has been that a couple of my films have been evergreen. They still have active fans. I'm still asked to do interviews on Elm Street 3 and even The Blob, and
Yeah.
they eventually get seen all around the world. So that's good fortune for me, but it also gives me a sense of responsibility. If these are going to be seen in different languages, I need to do my research. I need to know what I'm presenting. This is a cautionary tale. There is such a thing as white Wicca, and we even show respect to Wiccans. There are good Wiccans in this story, but it also can be a gateway drug. And I tend to equate drug addiction with magic obsession. I think they're very similar. I think if you perceive you've affected your world through manifestation through Wicca, beware, because you may be led down a dark path. So I believe in a real spiritual world, but I tend to dramatize it in a cautionary way that I feel is responsible.
And is that part of it too, having the main character here, Madison's character, Emily, have that sort of addiction problem too? Is that sort of what you're mentioning now, the blend of that and sort of presenting in that aspect too?
Correct. Without giving spoilers, I mean that's the character in Madison I
Yeah.
talked about in length. I did that in Elm Street 3. There's a very strong image of Freddy Krueger with needle hands. And
Yes, I remember.
Karen, the victim in that case, also had an addiction problem. And I got letters after the film where people have gotten off of heroin and thanked me for a scary scene that got them off the needle. I mean, that's
Wow.
actually, and it made me realize, well, these films, while I see them as broad entertainment and fantasies, they can affect people in a positive and I assume a negative way. So
Sure.
trust me, by my own device, there's not a happy ending in Witchboard, but the point is, it's a cautionary tale about a spiritual world that I find to be a real world. And yes, it terrifies me, to be
Uh-huh.
honest.
And you know what? Placing it in New Orleans here, it makes so much sense because New Orleans is known sort of that mystical place it's got a very unique and weird aura to it too. So I'm like, oh, this is set in New Orleans. That's another layer to it. That's the backdrop, the setting here presents itself to that matter. I was curious if you guys actually shot it in New Orleans too.
We shot it in New Orleans and in Montreal. So
Okay.
Montreal offered us, old Montreal is absolutely gorgeous. It's almost treated like a Disneyland there because the buildings are so amazing. It's cobblestone streets.
Mm-hmm.
Those buildings are all over 300 years old. So you saw scenes in a witch's dungeon that was a real fort. And these
Wow.
are places where there is despair baked into the cobblestones and bricks. So being on that set after the crew wrapped, if I was doing my notes, I'd have to hurry out not to be there alone because that atmosphere helped the film. New Orleans is the same way. The trick with any genre of film really, but horror in particular, is to be authentic. What
Mm-hmm.
frightens me? It's not just a bunch of pop scares. What frightens my characters? What issues do my characters have that make them vulnerable to a form of magic that I've never seen on film before? And how can I dramatize that? So New Orleans, historically, the French influence in New Orleans, the witchcraft in France in the 1700s was the most horrible abuse of women. If they had a pendulum board in those days, they could be burned at the stake.
Wow.
So it's why pendulum boards disappeared and Ouija boards evolved from them. So all of it is based on historical fact, and we just take it, of course, to a supernatural cinematic level in Witchboard.
Yes. And I was wondering too, any alternate endings too? I'm like, this story could have turned out a few different ways here too. Did you ponder, consider different outcomes here too for the story?
It, it did, and elements of every ending ended up in the movie anyway.
Ah,
So
okay.
I don't want to again do a spoiler, but
Sure.
uh, the 1700s. What I thought was interesting, rather than things I've seen possession films before, I really didn't want to do this film if I was going to do what I'd seen. It's important to me to do something I had not seen before, fresh to audiences.
Yeah.
This is a possession movie where where the spirit came from is actively involved in the contemporary main storyline. So I don't want to get overly complex, but I had fun showing what happened to the witch in 1700s when Madison starts to play with her witchboard in contemporary times.
Hmm. That's yeah, we got that there too, and even the cast. I liked how they all sort of meshed together. It was like all similar age group too. It just worked in that sense visually too.
We were talking about, we're both from Chicago.
Yeah.
I find that period right after school where, you've got your friend group, you're very tight
Yes.
through high school or also through college. Suddenly, are you going to scatter? I do a friend group that decided to open a restaurant together in New Orleans, which is kind of a dream I once had. I thought, wouldn't that be amazing?
Mm.
But it turns out to be a horrible mistake. They open their restaurant and it does not go well.
No, it doesn't.
Not if you have a wish board that you're making wishes on while you do it.
Fair enough. Yeah. I mean, but I love that addition to it. Like, oh, we're aspiring group. I thought it was a cool touch to it too. And New Orleans, known as like a unique food city too, so I thought that was a nice sprinkle, no pun intended, of of some of
There's a
that
bit there's a,
reality based in that group.
there's a bit of foodie horror, and
Yeah.
it's all comes together in one kind of a disaster in that restaurant that was really a riot filming.
Certainly does. I mean, you add so many ingredients and elements literally to the story too. At some point, do you feel like, oh, am I adding too much stuff? Because there's constantly stuff going on. Like you miss a minute of it and you missed a lot of the chunk of what just happened too. Do you like sort of throwing different things and seeing what works? It's sort of like cooking a meal, with trying new ingredients and things. And in this movie, so many twists and turns and just things that happen.
Well, thank you. That's a big compliment. I look in the writing. I have fun, but I'm quite disciplined.
Uh-huh.
So, there were places where I thought this story should go, but to be perfectly brutally honest, I have a terribly short attention span myself. And when we watch a
Interesting.
horror film, and okay, I know there's six kids, I know they're all going to die, I know that people are going to try these amazing devices. I did not want it to devolve into that kind of story. So where you might think that's where we begin, we go way beyond what I've ever seen before in horror cinema. And I wouldn't have started this movie if I didn't feel I could pull it off. And they're all organic. I'm quite proud. It's one linear story, but it's probably the only film I've done. Even in The Mask, people were laughing a lot. But it is literally, the audiences seem to actually be on the edge of their seats.
Yeah.
I saw very few bathroom breaks or chat breaks or phone breaks in any of our early screenings. So I'm really glad the story seems to be immersive. That was my intention. And if I felt during the screenwriting that I was getting boring or predictable, I'd change it up right there.
Yeah.
And it all worked out, in my opinion.
Did I mean, especially with today's, attention span, you can lose an audience member quick. So it's like you got to engage, stimulate them constantly sometimes, especially in a movie like this, with so many mystical elements, supernatural horror elements. You just got to keep it sort of rolling to keep their attention in it.
I am very aware of that. Um, I'm also lean towards practical effects because they don't age. My early films still have a following, I think, because the practical effects have aged very well.
Yes.
So primarily practical effects here, and I use CGI just to clean up.
There you go. You mentioned a mask, and I mean, just absolute classic. Did you ever think when you were making this movie, it was sort of a goofy, unique movie, weird movie in so many ways, but it would hit off like that and become sort of a cult classic, that people still talk about today, two, three
I
decades later, about this movie?
I was amazed by the success of it, but it proves that when you plan a film as a filmmaker, you can have, I guess, intellectual intentions that go with your
Hmm.
passion. So my passion came from the music of the 40s that my grandparents used to play when they were babysitting me, Cab Calloway and all that, and stage plays like Zoot Suit because I come from theater and I love theater. Then I see Jim Carrey in A Living Color. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's literally as good as Charlie Chaplin. His physical comedy was, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe he wasn't already a star when he was a TV star. So the whole Mask thing in my mind, they asked me to do a horror film of the Mask. The comic book was horror, but it was so much like Freddy Krueger because it's like kill, kill, joke, joke. I said to New Line, we just did this with Elm Street. There's this guy Jim Carrey. Let's go crazy. I can take the Dark Horse comic concept of the mask and blow it up. And honestly, I use that term a lot because I wouldn't have done Witchboard if I couldn't blow it up into something special.
Yeah. It's funny too. I spoke to James DeMarco yesterday, who created all the Purge movies, and we discussed in particular Freddy Krueger and Robert Englund, and it's like the nicest, most normal human beings are always the scariest on screen. It's just sort of amazing how I've met Robert too, one of the nicest and very
Robert,
intelligent men ever. But it's amazing how the nicest guys are always the scariest on screen.
well, I agree. Robert is a real thespian too. He's a real
Yes.
theater guy, and I really enjoyed working with him. And it takes courage to go to the dark side and to put it out there and know you're going to be. Of course, I think the makeup helped him be bold because
Yeah.
it's Robert, but it's not Robert, and he perfected that character. And I'm really into dark character-based humor. If you get silly or too funny in a horror film, you lose your audience. But you can do touches of dark humor, which we did in Elm Street 3. And thanks to Robert, it's terrifying. The
Mhm.
Robert Englund one-liner in context. Again, all this fear, all the practical effects, it's all bullshit unless you care about the characters. So
Yes.
that's number one. It's something I did in number three with a great young cast. And similarly in Witchboard, when I say it's this friends group, it's all about the chemistry with the cast. Yes, there's a love triangle, but you are scared for the characters if you care about them and they have authenticity to them.
Yep.
So everything about it, from the history of witches to New Orleans to this young cast, I'm going for taking chances but being authentic.
Yep. And people will be able to see it August 15, right in your background in theaters. It's cool. It's a theater release. This felt like a theatrical experience too. So I might even go check it out on a big screen to get this sort of that impact of it
Please,
too.
if you haven't seen it on the big screen, I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
I made it for theaters. We're delighted people are coming back to theaters again. The theatrical experience in a horror film where you're sitting right next to strangers screaming, you can't,
In that
it's
dark space, Chuck, that's where it's made for.
nothing like it. So I encourage everybody to see it while it's in theaters. Go to Witchboard Movie 2025. And I'm really enjoying the short little blasts that are coming out on the internet, TikTok and things.
There
They're
you
really
go.
cool. Got Jamie Campbell Bower in some of these shorties. It's amazing.
Hey, it's a pleasure to connect with you. Been a long time fan of your work. I love that you're a Chicago local, and we have so many connections. And you're someone to be proud of from here. We love our Chicagoans who make it big, and always proud of the city. So, thanks so
Thank you.
much for giving me the time to talk to you. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for you. And people got to check out Witchboard.
Thank you. Real pleasure meeting you. Thank you.
Let's do this again, Chuck.
Let's call me up. We'll talk about Chicago. Take care.
Perfect. Thank you
Okay.
so much. Appreciate it.